In front of you stand 10 people. You feel as if you're standing beside a detective looking at a living display of an entire underground state. Each figure is a rung in the cartel hierarchy, from the cheapest kid with a radio to the person shaking hands with ministers. And today, you're not just going to look at them from the outside, but live through each level yourself, from the first step to the throne. Until moment X, 8 steps. Chance of surviving to the end, near 0. You will learn about all the jobs in the cartel and what happens if you reach the end. Level 1. Halcon. You are a cheap alarm system. Imagine morning in a poor neighborhood. You're a teenager. Your eyes are barely open, but your phone is already buzzing. You're given an address and told, today your zone is here. Don't let go of your phone. Don't turn off your radio. Your job? Notice anything that doesn't fit the usual picture of the neighborhood. Every few minutes, you look around. You memorize when the first patrol passed, which car parks in the wrong place every day, which neighbor stares too long from their window. You become a living motion detector. And here comes the first question. How long can you last if any small mistake might cost someone their life or millions in product? If you relax and are not careful, the police may arrive. News later will say, Operation Intercepted, but they won't mention someone like you who simply didn't report in time. By day, you merge with the crowd, pretending to stare at your phone. At night, you hide in doorways, watching every flashing light. Sleep becomes an enemy. If you fall asleep, you're a malfunction, and malfunctions aren't repaired, they're replaced. You begin to see the city like a chessboard, police, routes, blind zones, all mapped out in your mind. And eventually, the older guys notice. You don't talk too much, you're alert, and you're still alive. They tell you, you want to earn more? Then stop watching. It's time to work with your hands. Level 2. Mule. Now your hands are in the business. Now you don't just report I see or clear. A small package is placed in your hand and you're given 3 addresses. 10 minutes there, 10 back. No talking, no questions. You walk up dirty staircases, hear shouting behind walls, smell fried food and cheap cigarettes. You knock the coded rhythm. This is your customer. You give him the goods, he gives you the money. A 1-second deal. But what if it wasn't a real buyer, but an undercover officer? In that case, he got what he wanted from you, and now you're going to be arrested. But this time, everything went according to plan. You're lucky. Soon the bosses start trusting you more. You're given a new task. You must transfer product across the border. From Monterey to Houston, you're shown a car, where to press to open a hidden compartment. You see the amount of product and realize it's not just a few packets. It's someone's economy. You need to go through the border checkpoint. Families, tourists, truckers, and you in the middle of it. Normal clothes, documents, a story, visiting relatives. But beneath the metal of the car lie years of prison wrapped in plastic. Police ask to open the trunk. A dog approaches. You smile, breathe evenly, every second stretching like a separate life. For the first time you realize, if you get caught, no one will care. Your fear is included in the price of the product. You're expendable. But if you're lucky this time and everything goes smoothly, no one congratulates you. They say, fine, next time will be bigger. And inside you grows a dangerous feeling. You're getting used to this adrenaline. Level 3. Sicario. Your new job is fear. At some point, they stop giving you small packages. You're gathered in a dim warehouse. Weapons are laid out on the table. Someone calmly explains there's a new job for reliable people. More pay, more risk. You hold a gun not like a toy, but like a tool. You're taught how to hold it in a car, how to get what you need, and how not to leave traces. Your first jobs seem easy. Stand near the boss during meetings. Be silent. Look at people in a menacing way, tapping a finger on a pistol grip. You still haven't done anything, but your silence works better than any threats. People are starting to be afraid of you. Then you're sent to take someone. Your task is to take the tied prisoner in the trunk to the meeting place. Nothing else. You don't always see the end, but you hear it. Each sound of shot pushes your old life another step away. Eventually comes the night when they don't say, take him. They say, do it. You know where to stop the car, how to move in the shadows. Your mind stops using words like good or bad. It's only clean or messy. Inside the system, this isn't the bottom. It's where respect begins. You don't betray, you don't run to the cops, you're doing your job. And most importantly, you can not just shoot, but plan. If the elders see you have a brain, not just strong hands, they ask, is it time for this guy to command instead of just taking orders? Level 4. Teniente. You turn chaos into operations. You're put in front of maps instead of doors. A wall covered with lines, notes, photos. You assemble teams like a construction set. Which sicario is stable? Who's too nervous? Who can't be paired because they hate each other? You assign roles. Driver, first, second, support. The target is the bank truck. You have information that there may be about $1.5 million inside this truck. In theory, the plan looks perfect. The first car blocks the street, the second takes the target, and the third waits on the sidelines if everything does not go according to plan. On paper, everything is perfect. In real life, it isn't. 30-second delays, neighbors appearing at the wrong time, cameras no one knew existed capturing faces. You sit in a car listening to radio codes. Started. Done. Problem. Every word hits like a heartbeat. But in the end, everything goes smoothly, all thanks to your plan. After the operation, no one asks you, was it hard for you? They ask, how much left? How much arrived? How much did we make? Success is measured in numbers, not feelings. If you deliver results, you're trusted more. After several clean operations, you're seen not as muscle, but as management. And this set of qualities leads you to the next level, where the cartel becomes quite similar to a corporation. Level 5. Jefe de Logística. You're responsible for roads worth millions. Your new office looks almost respectable. Maps of countries on the walls, phones, printouts of schedules. If not for a few names in your notebook, it could easily pass for a logistics company's headquarters. Your area of responsibility is no longer a neighborhood or even a city. It's chains of routes across borders and oceans. You decide whether a shipment goes by sea disguised as fruit, flies to a hidden airstrip, or travels in a truck with a false floor. You live in the mode of a never-ending puzzle. Which customs ship is on duty today? Which inspector is already ours? Where the police are staging another public raid? In which country there's a scandal making it safer to wait a bit? At the same time, you're connected to two different worlds. Somewhere in the jungle, a chemist calculates yield percentages and sends you numbers. How much and by what date it'll be ready. In a glass office in another city, the financier decides which shell companies to run the money through so it doesn't reek of the street. And right then, you realize the cartel is a real shadow corporation. There's production, logistics, finance, HR in the form of sicarios and tenientes. Just like big business. Only instead of reports, there are bodies. And instead of taxes, there are bribes. Every successful route makes you more valuable. Every intercepted shipment turns you into a problem. If the container with product is opened at customs and the police confiscate the evidence, the bosses won't deal with the chemist or the street-level dealer. They'll come to you with one simple question. How did you let this happen? What follows after this question will depend on how much money they lost. And you're once again facing a choice. Maximum risk with upward growth, or a step back and an attempt to quietly blend in with the middle tier. Production. The factory that doesn't exist. While you draw lines on maps, somewhere deep in the mountains, another life is boiling. Behind a steel door inside a hangar disguised as a farm, generators are humming. People in masks mix chemical solutions in giant barrels. The boss of this world isn't a former fighter, but a chemist. Sometimes with a degree, sometimes just with a brilliant mind. His KPIs are not kilograms sold, but yield percentage and product purity. He doesn't think about police, he thinks about heat signatures, smell, and waste. One mistake and the entire lab will be found by a satellite heat map. One puddle of chemicals in a river, and it won't be local cops who arrive, but environmental investigators with soldiers. One mistake and a lab worth hundreds of millions will be destroyed. If he does everything perfectly, you simply get a message. By this date, this amount will be ready. Parallel finance. The accountant who controls everyone. In another part of the world, in an air-conditioned office overlooking the waterfront, sits another key figure, the financier. He has never stood on a corner with a radio or opened a false trunk, but he's the one who turns dirty stacks of cash into clean numbers on accounts. This person builds networks of shell companies, hides money offshore, buys casinos and hotels, conducts quiet talks with bankers and politicians. On his spreadsheet lies the entire payroll of the cartel, from the first lookout on the street to a corrupt senator. If someone starts acting strange, he's the first to see it in the numbers. Without him, the whole structure becomes a mountain of dangerous paper no one can spend. With him, the cartel looks like a legitimate business. Level 6. Jefe de Plaza. You're the illegal governor of your territory. After logistics, you're given what many inside the structure crave for years. Your own plaza. Your own city, port, or border crossing. Now your job is not only to move the product, but to rule the territory. Every dealer in your city pays you piso, a tax for the right to sell. Every gang, car thief, or illegal business knows, if they don't give you a share, they won't live long. You become the shadow mayor, the tax authority, and the court all at once. Your day is a never-ending stream of meetings. Logistics people arrive with suitcases of money, buying safe passage. Local criminal groups complain about each other. Corrupt police hint that it's time to increase their compensation for staying quiet. From the outside, it looks like a beautiful life. A big house with guards, an expensive car, respect on the streets. But behind every corner is a new risk. Competitors wanting to take your zone, military forces ordered to clean up, and your own people who may one day decide to take your place. You live in a fortress, but the most dangerous threats aren't outside the walls, they're sitting at the table next to you. Those who know your schedule, your habits, your weaknesses. Any of them may one day sell that information for a slightly higher price.
Move in! Put your hands where I can see them.
If you manage to keep the balance, not attract too much attention, not lose money for the higher-ups, not lose the streets to rivals, the bosses say, he handles not just a route, but an entire region. Level 7. Jefe Regional. A general without a flag. Now beneath you aren't one, but several plazas, each with its own jefe, quirks, and wars. Your task is to control the entire battlefield. When two plaza bosses start a war over a corridor, it's you who sits them at opposite sides of the table. You listen to excuses, threats, half hints. Sometimes your word is enough to bury the conflict. Sometimes the opposite. You must decide which one is expendable. You become a court with no code except the interests of the cartel. Every verdict you make is enforced not by a stamp, but by a burst of gunfire. At the same time, you negotiate with other cartels. You agree on where the territories can be split, where it's better not to cross at all, and where it's profitable to ignite a war so you can later walk in and take what's left. Above you stands El Capo. He wants profit and relative peace. If you're too successful and influential, one day you start to look like a potential rival. If you're weak and losing regions, you become a burden. And now you're at the point where only one step remains to the throne. But here, you suddenly discover that every time you step outside your house, it's no longer just a workday. It might be the end of your story. Level 8. El Capo. The peak that turned out to be a cage. The old capo is gone. Some say he died naturally. Others whisper he was eliminated. The documents will say arrested, extradited, doesn't matter. What matters is the throne is empty, and now you sit on it. You live in a villa or penthouse. Serious men in suits visit you. You have legitimate businesses: construction, logistics, farms, hotels. You cut ribbons, pretending you don't know where the first money came from. You never touch the product anymore. You never give direct kill orders. You rarely speak even with plaza bosses. Your contacts are regional jefes, the financier, and politicians. Your real job is managing connections. One word, and a region gets the green light on a new route. Another word, and an entire city plunges into war. A third, and some official suddenly becomes unnecessary. From the outside, it looks like absolute power, but in reality, it's the most expensive prison. You can't walk around the city freely, can't have simple friends, can't fully trust a single person in the room. Somewhere there are folders with your name, in the police, in intelligence agencies, with rivals. Someone is always waiting for the right moment to make a career off your downfall or seize your position. You can outplay everyone for years, but every capo's shelf life is the same: prison, grave, or disappearance. And here comes the main question, the reason you watched the whole video. If you subtract the money and the outward luxury, does this person have any freedom left at all? The same 10 figures stand in a row. You're no longer just looking at them as a viewer. You've just walked their entire path inside your head. You stood on the corner, held the package, unscrewed the hidden compartment, sat in a car with weapons, drew arrows on maps, argued with politicians, and counted whether one more night without a raid was possible. And now, you're left with one simple but unpleasant choice. Not how to climb this ladder, but at which step you definitely don't want to set foot on it.